show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am joined by two young bloods today. You don't see our normal host, Mike Thornton, with us. He's got some family stuff going on. My name is Jake Podger. And as I mentioned, we're joined today by two special guests, Ian Leakey and Timmy Corks. Timmy has become somewhat of a regular on our show here at the Nickel City Mafia Studios, and we're fired up to have him. It is officially the Wednesday Night Bills Tailgate show, and I am very excited to be hosting with these two gentlemen today. First off, Timmy, how we doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Looking forward to the start of the college football season. Sorry that you have to deal with me for a third time in 3 weeks so far, but glad to be back and glad to talk Bills football.
Love it, brother. Ian, what's up, brother? It's been a little bit. We had Ian last on, I think during the draft, I want to say it was. He's popped in every now and then, but yeah, it's been a little while since we've had him on camera here. The first time Ian came on camera, it was actually during a major snowstorm around Christmas time. And we had some technical difficulties, but we got through it. So, Ian, welcome back. How we doing? How's everything been?
Much appreciated. Yeah, I remember that whole thing because all you saw was my silhouette because I was trying to find any lights because my entire building had no power. I'm doing well. I'm drinking one of your Jay gave me this for my birthday the other week. It's a Summer Dreams Ellicottville Brewing sour ale. It's very good. Last one I got. Very excited to talk some Bills football.
Heck yeah, man. I'm not drinking any beers tonight. I am going Gatorade. Trying not to drink during the week, but hey, we never know. There's always an opportunity. I may just go over there and grab a bourbon right now. Still working on the man cave. Very excited to show everyone here that's watching at least a nice little sneak peek of that in the future. But yeah, what do you guys say? Let's get into talking a little bit of football. First off, there was some news around the league, which I included down the below ticker there. So first off, I think the biggest news we got to talk about is obviously Jonathan Taylor officially, I guess, receiving permission to seek a trade. And it sounds like I think 7 teams total have already been involved in trade talks. So that's pretty interesting. The Bills have been named as a possible suspect for that, but no confirmation. So first I'm going to start with Ian because I know Ian feels very strongly about this, and I'm on his side. Ian, do you think there's any chance in hell that we get Jonathan Taylor? And is there any chance in hell or any reason why the Bills want to get a man like this outside of the fact that he's an all-pro running back?
Yeah, well, the first thing you have to keep in mind is that the whole reason that Jonathan Taylor is looking for a trade is because he wants more money. We have $6 million in cap space right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you're going to get the money to pay him because that's not enough. Secondly, that's the least of our problems is running back. First of all, we have James Cook off his first year as a pro, where he was essentially a backup. I mean, he wasn't really a starter until later on in the season. So, I mean, you're going to do what every second-round running back the Bills have drafted in the last 5 years is going to do. You give him 3 years to see if he's good enough, and then if he's not, you get rid of him. But you can't base a rookie season off of, what he can possibly do in the future. So, and then the other thing is, with Jonathan Taylor is you would assume that he's going to want a new contract right away to whatever team he's going to. Otherwise, he'll just do the same thing and hold out again, right? Well, again, if we don't have the cap space for that, he'll just do that. It could provide a really almost like a culture shift for us, like kind of a big downer on a supposedly positive Bills team. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, especially with us going – I guess not really all in, but we took this guy in the second round, and I know the Bills have done this in the past. Obviously, Cody Ford. I see Sean is in the chat there, and that's his boy. Taking a guy that you expect to be a starter and remain with the Bills for years on end. And, just seeing what James Cook has done, though, in the offseason and with how explosive he has looked in the preseason. I know last game wasn't a really good showing, but that first game and from what we've seen in camp, he's been looking fantastic. I think he's ready to take the reins, and I don't want to disrupt that by any means. So I understand obviously wanting a guy like Jonathan Taylor on the team, but realistically, let's give James Cook a shot, man. In all honesty, I don't know the chances of the Bills actually going for him anyways. Sean in here saying he would trade James Cook and a second rounder for Jonathan Taylor. Obviously it's intriguing. That wouldn't be a bad option, but if you're all in on James Cook, I think you got to remain with him. So it's really a tough call. But Timmy, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I just feel like at this point the Bills are becoming the Yankees in the NFL. Any sort of player that comes available, the Bills are being named right now. So honestly, I'm not a big fan of Jonathan Taylor. He's only really had one productive season when he was playing with the Colts, and that was the year that they had one of the best offensive lines in the league too. Even his style of play kind of reminds me of like a Devin Singletary. He's a little bit more dynamic, can break out the big runs, but he's going to be running mostly in between the tackles. He's not going to be running outside of the tackles at all. And overall, he has a lot of mileage on him. When he played in Wisconsin, he carried the ball over 792 times. That is a lot of mileage on him. I don't know how many more years you're going to get out of him. Obviously, you have Derrick Henry down in Tennessee, and he's still chugging along right now. But he's a whole different type of back. Jonathan Taylor, he's a little bit smaller. And honestly, he really hasn't proven anything to kind of earn that big contract that he's been looking for. He should probably play out I think he's on his 4th year right now, or is he 5th year? Just play out whatever remaining years he has left down in Indianapolis.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that any of this hype around Jonathan Taylor, like coming to the Bills, has to do with the fact that during that crazy year that Tim's talking about, he rushed for 185 yards and had 5 total touchdowns against us?
We were at that game, Ian. I hope you remember
we were at that game, and I think
we were also pissed drunk during that game.
Yeah, a lot of Bills fans are thinking about that and are like, God, what if we got a guy like that on the team? Keep in mind, he had 4 touchdowns over 11 games last year. Now, I know he's hurt, but he played. He had 4 touchdowns. Like, he's not this, like, perennial game changer running back. And even if he was, you're taking snaps away from other guys who, in my opinion, deserve it more.
I agree. And also, Timmy made a really good point. He's playing behind, he was playing behind a very good offensive line. They were pretty banged up last year, but they're looking to return to form this year. So the Bills' offensive line, that is probably one of our biggest woes right now, and it's something that we're going to definitely talk about a little bit more on this show. So behind this offensive line, not sure he's going to be the same back anyways. So that's another point to be taken into consideration. But no, I love the points, guys. I think we can probably put that to bed for now until we hear more rumors. But no, I just wanted to get you guys' takes on it. Obviously, it's some big news around the league. It's definitely intriguing to think about. But I'm with Ian. I'm with Timmy. Timmy kind of in the same boat on that. I think we're good. Let's stay put. Let's see what James Cook can do. By the way, we have Damian Harris, and we also signed Ty Johnson this week. So that was an interesting signing, too. Apparently, people saying that he's going to basically replace Nyheim Hines and be that type of role in our offense, which I hope that's the case because Nyheim Hines was supposed to be used in our offense last year, and he really wasn't. He was just mainly a return guy. So is Ty Johnson going to actually be utilized like we were hoping Nyheim Hines would have been last year? Like, this guy, still young, ran a 4.4, I believe, very fast. Decent size. I think he's like 5'9", 210-ish around there.
He's just looking it up, yeah. 5'10".
And is that really what it is? Perfect. Yep. Love that. So I like what he brings to the table, obviously. Just a little perplexed as to why we would go out and sign another running back.
He's a body for the next game.
What's that, Timmy?
He's a body for the next game.
Yeah,
they just need to fill somebody in. Latavius Murray's been putting on he's been carrying the ball a lot the past 2 preseason games. They just need someone to fill in as a body right now. He's not going to be on this team after the next preseason.
Okay.
Unfortunately, unless there's something that's gone wrong with Damian Harris and like he can't play week 1 or 2, that's the only way I could see him even. And even then, like Darrington Evans, I think has proven himself to be pretty good.
How about Jordan Mims, my boy, the practice squatter that
give one of those two a chance over Ty.
Yeah. Undrafted free agent out of Fresno State's looked really good over the last 2 games. And this is the version of Raheem Blackshear from last year that we saw, I believe. So, yeah, really love what I see from that kid, too. So, Timmy, that would be interesting. Just kind of bringing a guy in for some competition, obviously, to take some reps away. We don't want the starters really playing in this game against the Bears. So, that could be a very, very possible thing. So, I definitely can see that for sure. So, by the way, going to the comments here, it looks like Mike is in here. Mike, thank you for joining us. Yeah, show went off a little early today. I know you set it for 9:30, and I was like, maybe we go 9, and then we had some technical difficulties. So finally got kicked off at 9:20. So we went a little earlier than we were supposed to technically. But, yeah, here we are. We're fired up. Can't wait to talk a little bit more of this and keep going here. So Sean saying Bills will just grab a guy from the USFL, possibly. Yeah. I mean, we just signed Deshaun White from the XFL and Garrett McGinn as well from the XFL, who has spent, I think, 2 different stints with the Bills. And that was our answer for right tackle and middle linebacker, by the way. So I think people are let a little down from all that just because we were fully expecting the Bills to go out and sign a veteran such as Marcus Cannon, Jason Peters at the right tackle position. And then maybe for middle linebacker, I don't know, maybe a guy like Anthony Barr, although he would demand a lot of money. I know Brett brought that up last show in the comments, but what are your guys' thoughts on that, Ian? As far as like our signings go, just taking 2 guys that were from the XFL, what does that really tell you about the Bills and where they're at right now? Are we just kind of, as Timmy said, filling bodies right now for this next game because we already know who our starters are going to be? Just kind of want to see what these guys can add to the depth roles, or do they really have a shot at competing?
Yeah, no, I mean, in this late in the preseason, I don't really think there's much of a shot at competing except for like a practice squad piece. It's possible that they could be doing something like this because they have plans to trade a starter.
Yeah.
But I'm looking around and like I was looking at over the cap earlier to try to see like if it made sense to trade anyone, but it really doesn't at this point. It's just it's too late. And we don't have, what's actually kind of nice is we've gone out of this preseason with not that many injuries to starters. Like generally speaking, our starters have remained relatively healthy. So I can't imagine that anybody's competing for a spot that we're signing now.
It's kind of crazy because we talked about this a little before the show. It's like we have these position battles going on, but it seems like the positions that are of the most concern, everyone seems to get injured at that position. So you talk middle linebacker, Dorian Williams now has a calf injury, and then Terrell Bernard's been nursing a hammy injury. I know Balin Spector's been banged up a little bit, and it's just been kind of a nightmare. So middle linebacker is one of them, and then the other is offensive tackle, Tommy Doyle. We don't even know what really happened to him, but he's going to be out for the rest of the year. Not sure if he was really going to be a right tackle by any means, but still, just that's extra depth for the offensive tackle room. Brandon Shell goes off and retires, doesn't have passion for the game anymore. And obviously Spencer Brown has not looked great. So kind of interesting. You know, the rooms where we need the most help in, guys are either getting injured, not living up to expectations, or just flat out retiring and saying they're done with football. So I don't know. Timmy, what are your thoughts on all this stuff? I mean, are you sold that we know who our starters are going to be, or are we just kind of seeing what sticks right now?
I'm pretty much, when it comes to tackle, I think the tackles are both known. Obviously, Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown. Middle linebacker is really still up in the air right now. You know, last game they were rotating between AJ Klein and Tyrell Dotson, and both in coverage. They were.
It was pretty rough.
mean, they looked like me chasing after like a track star out there when it came to covering wide receivers.
Hey, shout out to Danny Escobar trying to cover our boy. Who was it? Receiver at UB. Listen, no offense to Danny, but it was pretty funny to watch the one time. He got burned pretty good. But hey, we got nothing but love for ITPG if he's watching. Not sure if he is, but I'm going to send him this clip because we're going to clip it out for him.
Love you, Danny.
Timmy would only understand that. I don't think he even understands that one.
I wasn't on the team. Wasn't there.
But yeah, besides that, you know, we're still waiting on Terrell Bernard to see what he has. But I don't think he's going to be playing this game either. So I think we're going to be rolling in with Tyrell Dotson as the starter right now. And then if he's that bad, we're going to just toss AJ Klein in there. So,
wow.
Really, I think the middle linebacker position's kind of like the real, you know, thorn sticking out right now. So maybe they'll pick up somebody on the waiver wire coming up after cuts. But I think that's the one that I think every Bills fan is going to be watching right now. And everyone's kind of being like, what's going on right here?
It's pretty rough, man. I still believe that Dorian Williams is the answer, even though the Bills just full on refuse to play him there and give him a full on chance. I think he's just way too good of a football player not to be on the field. Hopefully the calf injury is good and he heals up and he's ready to go for week 1. But yeah, I mean, you know, obviously we got the Jets coming up week 1, so that's going to be really interesting. And speaking of the Jets, by the way, Corey Davis decides to hang him up today. So that was definitely an interesting thing to happen too. I think a lot of people speculated he was going to be cut from the team anyways. So I don't know if he just wanted to save face or if he was really just done with football in general. But Yeah, he is now no longer a Jet and no longer in the NFL. So that was another piece of news as well from around the league. So I guess kind of getting into, talking about injuries and whatnot too. A couple guys on the injury report right now as of today, 8:23 prior to this game. So Matt Barkley nursing an elbow injury, which happened in that game. Khalil Shakir appearing on this injury report with a ribs injury. I want to talk about that a little bit because this is essentially Khalil Shakir's last opportunity, I think, to make an impression on this coaching staff. Timmy is very hot on Andy Isabella, as am I. I don't know what your take is on that, Ian, and who you think is going to be the eventual slot receiver. I think Trent Sherfield has solidified the number 3 receiver spot, whether that's in the slot or the outside, but he's definitely going to be on this roster and going to be in the starting lineup at some point here. So, but in terms of talking the battle that Timmy and I have been really bringing up in the last few shows, Khalil Shakir versus Andy Isabella, where do you stand on that, Ian?
Well, it's funny because I was looking at the stats of the last 2 preseason games, and Andy Isabella has taken like every kick return and every punt return. Deontay Hardy, who is like put in the depth chart as the punt returner, has taken 1 punt, and that's it. Like you would think that, I know Andy's trying to make the team, but you would think Deontay would maybe he wouldn't fair catch one of those and try to run one out. But like the fact that Andy Isabella has taken all these kick returns makes me think that they feel pretty good about him, being that guy there. As far as like a receiver threat, I don't know. Maybe he'll be kind of like Isaiah McKenzie, like a nice surprise where you can use him as like that kind of player. But I think at this point he probably is going to make the team, especially if Khalil's injuries are serious enough that he can't play this game. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I definitely at the start of the preseason, I felt like there's no chance Khalil Shakir was in any danger of losing his job. But as we go throughout the preseason here, it just seems like it's getting harder and harder to get rid of our boy Andy Isabella. And I know Mike is probably tearing his hair out just hearing this right now, but I don't know, man. He's got a really good chance, I think, just because he offers that return value. Haven't seen Khalil Shakir really do much of that either. So I feel like it's going to be a really interesting last few cuts, and it's going to come down to, I guess, really what you can see in terms of value, where Andy Isabella fits as both a return guy and probably a slot guy. So I don't know. Mike saying that Khalil is a lock. I love it. And then he says, if Khalil is concerned, sore ribs wouldn't keep him out of the game if he was fighting for a position. That's a good point, Mike, because, this is the last preseason game. And typically in this third game, it's all guys that are on the bubble or, essentially going to be backups going into the season. So, yeah, I guess time will tell with that one. So, very good point. Yeah, it's important to remember, too, with that is that Khalil Shakir is more talented in terms of playing wide receiver, I think, than Andy Isabella. But
yeah,
that's not the need. The need is returner. And if Khalil can't do that, I think that, you probably could replace him with like a Trent Sherfield.
I agree. By the way, guys, I wanted to bring this up too. I meant to say this at the beginning of the show, but we're at like 1,480 subscribers. So obviously, if you're out there watching, you're brand new to the channel, you haven't seen any of your content before, and if you enjoy it and you want to see more, we would appreciate you giving us a like, a thumbs up, and then, of course, taking that extra step and subscribing to our channel. It would mean the world to us. And, obviously only 20 more subs to go. Our goal is to get to 1,500 before the regular season starts. So we are really trying our best with that. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up too. Tomorrow we're doing a fantasy draft, basically a mock draft. So we're going to have our guys, Chris and Jeremy, they're going to be going over the picks. We're going to be doing a live fantasy draft, and they're going to be evaluating each of those picks. So it's a 12-man league, and I believe the format is quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, and then 2 flexes, I want to say. I think a defense is also involved. Not sure if a kicker is. I'll have to look again. But I will be participating in that. I have the 4th overall pick in it. So they're going to critique my pick and, a few other picks. So that should be pretty fun. Don't want to miss that. Of course, we do a golf show as well. And then in addition to that, we just started our channel on a separate channel going through the entire AFC East. It's called the AFC East Summit, where we have a representative from the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots, as well as 3 from the Bills. So I am on that one as well. And it's a great time, guys. We actually did trivia the one time. We had a show last night where Sean Kula from Red, White, and Bills hosted. So don't want to miss out. Make sure you check that out as well. A lot of good content coming with that one too. So. And Big Al coming in. Tell them to hit that bell on the side to subscribe. Yeah, well, the bell actually, Dad, is for notifications when we go live, which today it would have helped because we were technically supposed to go live at 9:30. Then I switched it to 9:15. Then I pushed it to 9:20. So, yeah, definitely would have helped a lot. But, yes, that's a very good point, too. If you want to hit that bell on the side, it'll notify you when we go live. So,
arguably just as important. You want to know
I would say so.
Live. It's very important.
I would absolutely say so, for sure. And Sean coming in and saying, wide receiver is more important to me. We don't want another Kumaro mistake. I agree with that, Sean.
Well, now, Kumaro did not return punts or kicks.
Well, that's true. He was a gunner. So Trent Sherfield offers value as a gunner. But I'm curious to see if he'll actually play there just because I feel like, as I mentioned, he's going to be a top 3 receiver on this team. I feel like he actually has a really good shot of eclipsing like 600 yards receiving this year. That's how good he's been, and that's how impressive he's been, especially with Josh Allen and their chemistry. So, Timmy,
hasn't Shorter been? Yeah, well, hasn't Shorter been in college known as a gunner too? So that's kind of what they drafted him for right now, is to fill in that gunning position right now, because he's obviously going to make the position. Going back to Khalil Shakir, Tom McShay said it best. Best ability is availability. Right now, he's not available. I haven't seen him all preseason either, so I don't know what plays he's been making to stay on this team right now. Andy Isabella has been playing with the first team recently with the past week and also last week as well. So, he's kind of grinding this out and he's trying to prove himself right now. He's a former second rounder. I know people like to point at him and say, hey, he's below 6 feet tall. What are some of the best receivers that played the game? Wes Welker, he's below 6 feet tall.
Yep.
Oh man,
you're talking slot receivers or just receivers in general?
Just receiver, yeah. Julian Edelman.
I believe Marvin Harrison was 5'11".
He was.
I mean,
Antonio Brown was only 5'10".
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are just waving this guy off because he's been cut from the Baltimore Ravens, who
Didn't want to pay him.
Their offense. Well, even their offense last year wasn't even tailored to even passing the ball at all, and before that, he was playing with the Arizona Cardinals, and they have a quarterback. Well, I think you definitely need a quarterback that's over 6 feet tall. They're playing with a 5'9" quarterback right now, and he actually can't even see over the offensive line. So I think this is a great opportunity for Andy Isabella and his style of offense. He's getting a lot of yards after the catch. And what was the number one complaint last year about Bills wide receivers?
That's true.
They only had one guy that get yards after the catch, and that was Stephon Diggs. The rest of them couldn't do that. They literally had to bring in Cole Beasley at the end of the season to help kind of like rejuvenate this offense. And the guy's 33 years old. Now you have a guy like Andy Isabella who can kind of, he plays all 3 phases of special teams. He also can play offense. He get that yard after the catch. That's kind of where I see him replacing him. I don't see that in Khalil Shakir. I haven't seen that in Khalil Shakir. What has he proven the past 2 preseasons that he can actually stay on this team? He barely even played in the season last year. Yeah, he's good at catching the ball, but he's a receiver. You should be good at catching the ball. You got to be a difference maker. He hasn't been a difference maker. Andy Isabella is kind of shown right now that he can get that yards after the catch. That kind of matters for this team. What's going to happen on the short yards, distances when it's 3rd and short and you need to just get that first down? You want to get that guy who's going to get the ball and carry it past that first down yard mark, because you know what? They're coming with the blitz right now. Your offensive line is terrible. They're going to get to your quarterback fast. You just want to get a guy that can dump the ball off to, and he can get you that first down yardage. And Andy Isabella right now is shown to do that. So right now, I have Andy Isabella right now making the team over Khalil
Let's
Shakir.
go. Wow. I love that. So you got 6 receivers making it, and Andy Isabella filling that 6 slot.
Who are your 6?
Well, right now I have Stephon Diggs, Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy. Really haven't seen much from him in the offense, but they paid him a ton of money. I think his dead cap is kind of crazy too. And then I have Andy Isabella. And then, obviously Gabe Davis as well. And then Khalil Shakir, he'll probably, Justin Shorter. And then Khalil Shakir would probably be the 7th. But I think Andy Isabella has earned that right to be over Khalil Shakir right now. I can even see Khalil Shakir as being more of a trade bait too. Toss him into something, maybe get something else, middle linebacker, offensive tackle. That's kind of where his value stands right now. He's not really high on value. I think a lot of people are looking at his potential right now, but he hasn't shown his potential at all right now, at least to me.
Very interesting, Timmy. I like what you have said. I think it's very valid. In terms of yards after the catch, he's really the only guy I've seen that has done so in the preseason here. So you make a very good point with that, and that's something that we've been missing over the last few seasons. That's what Cole Beasley was so good at, and that's what we've really been missing. So, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Just want to get to the comments here too. Morning Mayan, Linda West, yes. By the way, you did win a copy of Madden 24, so please make sure you claim it. You could send an email to our guy Mike Thornton. I think it's Mike Thornton or nickelcitymafia@gmail.com. Nickel.citymafia, something like that. Mike, you might have to correct me on that, but please reach out to him because we will be able to ship that to you. And you have officially won a version with Josh Allen on the cover of Madden 24. So congratulations. We appreciate your support, and go Bills as always, for sure. John Roberts coming in saying Trent Sherfield had a nice catch last Saturday. Yes, he did. I've been very impressed with him. The chemistry between him and Josh Allen has been incredible. It's looked the best out of any receiver. I haven't seen much with Steph, so I can't really maybe put them over, Josh and Steph. I can't put that combo over them, but no, everything that we've been hearing, everything that we've been seeing, Trent Sherfield has been the guy this whole entire offseason. So it's been great. Saying Justin Shorter had 5 catches. Yeah, he looked really impressive last game. And actually the fact that he was able to win inside like he could and kind of use his body, his bigger body, was very encouraging. A lot of people were talking about how his routes needed a little bit more help coming into the pro game here. He was able to use his natural talent more so in college to take advantage of corners. But in the NFL, you got to be kind of like an artist with your route running. So it was really impressive to see him out there. And I know he's playing against backups, but awesome to see. 5 catches, 47 yards, and a tutter last week. That's very impressive. Saying Andy Isabella runs a 3-1. No, I think he means 4-3-1. But if he did run 3-1, he'd absolutely be on this roster.
Break every record.
Yeah. Yes, he would. Look at this, Timmy. Timmy reminds me of Stephen A. stirring up trouble with the fan base. Wow.
I don't think picking Andy Isabella to make the team is stirring up trouble, but I
think it's the Khalil Shakir hate. That's
the Khalil Shakir hate.
I just don't understand. There's so much love for Khalil Shakir. I'm like, he's a 5th-round wide receiver. Like Andy Isabella,
on the practice
second round pick. He only got recruited by UMass. He played at UMass. And Jake, you remember watching us play UMass when we were at UB? Oh yeah, that's not even like a real football team, for God's sake. And this guy got drafted in the 2nd round, and he's still, he has the speed. He's a grinder, man, and I appreciate guys who are going to grind right now.
Bring your lunch pail to work. That's what he is. Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, he put up some numbers at UMass. He really killed it there.
Yeah.
To be a 2nd-round pick from that school, very impressive, of course. Absolutely. Topper Harley coming in and saying, not downplaying Andy Isabella's potential contribution to this team, but wouldn't Kincaid and Hardy give us plenty of yak? That's a good point as well. That's kind of why we brought both of them in, too, to serve as that safe blanket and obviously to give us some yak. Dalton Kincaid, I mean, shoot. You want to talk about him and how great he's looked. I think, actually, you talk about receiving options, he has looked by far the best out of anyone. But in terms of receivers, Trent Sherfield's definitely been that guy, too. But, love to see it, man. You're not sold on him. I thought he actually had a nice game the other day.
I just mean, he never really stood out in New Orleans, and I don't know. I haven't seen him much play in the preseason either, so I don't know.
Well, 2021, what did he have? 500-something yards?
571.
2020? Yeah, 571, and he averaged a lot of yards a catch. And that was before when he was named Deontay Harris. He did switch his name to Hardy, and now I think he wants to recreate that season in some form this year. So looking forward to it. I think he has a lot of potential. Maybe the Bills are kind of saving him. They don't want to show too much.
Yeah, the other thing, too, with Dalton Kincaid is he's a lock. Like, he's making the team no matter what, right? He's the 2nd tight end. So, really, we're just talking about in terms of receivers and who would provide yak in that case, right? And if Deontay Hardy is injured and is not playing as much, he had 2 catches for 12 yards last game. It's not much. Then why not give it to, Andy Isabella, who's shown a lot more and who's healthy? And Khalil Shakir, he only played 1 year. He could go on the practice squad, and if Andy doesn't work out, you just swap him.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Yeah, I mean, out of those two, would there be a scenario where, obviously we keep both, and one of them, I think more likely would be Andy Isabella to go to the practice squad. Do you think that's also an opportunity or a chance the Bills take? What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, I think so. Khalil Shakir is only a second-year player, so I'm sure a lot more teams would be more eager to pick him up than Andy Isabella. But, I think Andy Isabella has showcased a lot during this, preseason to maybe another. I believe neither of those players would be able to make it to the practice squad, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
I think if the Bills are going to keep I think Terrell Shavers or Marcel Aitman are probably most likely going to be our practice squad wide receivers
I could see that.
Those.
Yep. Yeah. How about Keyshawn Johnson? He's looked really good too.
That as well, but he could be gone as well. That's the problem. If you have guys performing in the preseason,
also a veteran,
could be picked up somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I want to get into that a little bit. So I talked to Timmy and Ian a little bit about this prior to the show. We were just kind of going over what we were going to discuss, in terms of who actually makes this roster. So I want to go position by position here. I don't have a slide for this, so bear with us. But in terms of quarterbacks here, guys, I think it's safe to say Josh Allen and Kyle Allen are going to be our 1 and 2. Do you guys disagree at all with that?
No.
And now last year
Josh Allen guy.
I don't know either. I'm not sold yet. He's got to figure it out. Too many interceptions.
That completion percentage. Yeah, I know.
Awful. By the way, Josh Allen came up limping again with a knee injury in practice. I think it was yesterday or earlier today. I think it was yesterday. Nothing to be too concerned about, but does it concern you at all, the fact that he's kind of come up a little limb a few times during training camp here? I think this year it's been more and more that we've heard about it than in previous years. Haven't heard a whole lot about Josh Allen getting dinged up. Does it concern you at all that he's gotten a few of these little nicks during the preseason? Ian.
I mean, not really. I mean, he's got now 2 weeks to fully recover, right? Because we have a break after this preseason game.
Yeah.
So no, not really. I think maybe there's just more coverage around Josh because, it's going into his next year here and the year before.
And he's dating Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? But no, not at all.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so we got Josh Allen and Kyle Allen. Does Matt Barkley move to the practice squad then? Or do you think we bring in someone else that's younger?
I think that Matt Barkley is going to be in the practice squad. He's one of Josh's guys. He's been on the team for the past 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that they would let him go I don't know who they would consider bringing into the practice squad. I know that there had been some people suggesting maybe they should take a look at Trey Lance as their backup quarterback. I can see a move for their number 2 quarterback, but the problem is, what are we hearing all the time about this Bills offense is that it's very nuanced and it's very hard to pick up fast. That's what we're hearing from Kyle Allen. That's what we heard about Nyheim Hines last year too. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think you're kind of stuck with these 3, and then I don't think there's any. Maybe Case Keenum. Maybe they bring him back. I don't know how much better he is compared to those 2 either. But I think we're kind of Josh Allen, Kyle Allen on the roster, Matt Barkley practice squad makes sense to me.
Fair enough. By the way, John Roberts saying, this is actually a good point too, saying Brandon Beane would not trade or put Khalil Shakir on the practice squad while on his rookie contract. I think that's a good point. Something to definitely consider. He's only in his 2nd year, right? 2nd year now.
Second.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a good point. When you look at how much you're going to pay each of these guys too, Andy Isabella, I'm not sure what he actually signed for. Was it 1 year?
I can tell you.
Yeah, pull up those figures. I'm kind of curious to see what that would be.
1 year, basically $1 million.
Okay.
For,
yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. He's also saying that Matt Barkley had a brace on his elbow. Yeah, he was listed on the injury report today. I think he got a little dinged up in that Steelers game, but not too terribly concerned about that. Curious to see if he will play in that Bears game, because it could just be the Kyle Allen show that entire game. But I guess we'll see.
Sure.
All right, yeah, so I'm with that. So last year we kept 16 guys on the practice squad, which is the max amount you're allowed to keep. And just remember, too, in order to put a guy on the practice squad, he has to clear the waiver wire, meaning another team can essentially pick him up and put them on their active roster, but they also have to deem that person capable of being on their 53-man active roster. So in my opinion, I think we are safe with having Matt Barkley on that practice squad. So right now, we got 2 QBs, 1 practice squad QB. And also, don't forget, guys, we mentioned this the other show, too. There's a new rule now where you can actually have an additional active quarterback. So if your two starters, while your starter and your backup go down with an injury, you're allowed to activate that third quarterback and not have him count towards a 53-man roster spot. So I think Matt Barkley would serve as useful in that position. Let's hope and pray that we never have to deal with that situation, but that's something to be noted as well. So, okay. All right, moving on to the running backs here. I have our lads pulled up. This is what we got right now. We got James Cook, Damian Harris, Latavius Murray, Darrington Evans, Ty Johnson, and Jordan Mims. Who's making the squad out of that? And do you think we keep 3? Or do we keep 4?
I think it's 3. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's James Cook's, Damian, and Latavius, unless Damian's injury is like worse than people think. And then obviously you keep Reggie Gilliam for fullback. But
yeah, I love that.
I can't really see them not doing that. Like if Latavius had faltered in the preseason, then maybe. But he's looked pretty good. I mean, from all things considered. So you have James Cook as the one, Damian is the change of pace guy, and Latavius is kind of the goal line / give him a breather.
I like that. And people forget, man, Latavius Murray is fast as hell. He ran like a 4.3 40 himself. He's also 6'3", 230 pounds.
Massive.
And I know he's 33 years old, but he's still got some burst in him. This is a dude who ran for 700 plus yards last year with the Broncos. So he can still play. I think he's absolutely worth a roster spot. And I'm starting to agree with what Timmy's saying. Maybe Ty Johnson is just a body right now. Maybe it's an audition tape for other teams this next game. But I guess my question to you guys is, if we are keeping a 4th between Darrington Evans, Ty Johnson, and Jordan Mims, who are you keeping right now?
I would go with the young guy. I would go with Jordan Mims.
Okay.
He's shown a lot in the preseason. He's been running the ball well. And he's kind of got that burst of speed that you'd like to see in a running back too.
Vision's been good.
Yeah, for sure. So out of those 3, I would see Jordan Mims making the roster. But in all honesty, in the real world, I think he's just going to be going onto the practice squad. But who knows?
Yeah.
He could be plucked up too. So you never know with this. Bills and running backs, their undrafted running backs have been getting, plucked up pretty fast these past couple of years.
I think you got to also factor in the Bills value special teams so much. We lost Tywan Jones to free agency and I guess maybe retirement. I don't know if he's hinting at that or not, but I saw he posted on Instagram the other day. I think he just bought like a motorcycle or something. I don't know what it was, maybe a dirt bike. But he seems to be living his best life. So nonetheless, he will not be playing football anytime soon, it appears. But they kept him as an active roster spot the last 3 seasons or so. So it is curious, and I do wonder if they're going to keep a spot and keep a 4th running back just for that alone. I think Jordan Mims can definitely do that. I think he might serve more value as that guy over both Darrington Evans and Ty Johnson, unless you want to make one of those 2 your returner. So, Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I haven't seen Darrington Evans or Jordan Mims in special teams. Like, I don't recall them playing, so I don't know if they can fill that role. However, I have a feeling that if they do keep 4 guys, they probably are a little concerned by the fact that they keep letting these running backs go, like Raheem Blackshear, and then they turn out to be pretty good. So I can imagine them wanting to keep Jordan Mims just so that he doesn't get picked up by anybody else. Like, I could totally see them doing that. And then, say Latavius gets hurt, Damian Harris's injury is worse than we think, or something of that nature, then Jordan Mims can fill in, and then those gains can be realized for the Bills instead of a different team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Definitely. All right. So obviously fullback, we're keeping Reggie Gilliam, right? Do you think there's any chance that my boy gets cut from the team? Timmy?
Doubt it.
You know what? If our offensive line was better, I would highly consider him being cut. Like I said, I'm not a fullback. It can go away with the dinosaurs right now.
Oh, stop it. Stop.
If you believe that. But no, I think right now they definitely need a player like Reggie Gilliam back there. Especially between James Cook and his pass blocking on 3rd downs. You never know what's going on with him. And then you might need someone along the lines, kind of shadowing towards Spencer Brown's side back there in the backfield right now. So
just a little
definitely going to need him right
chip
now.
Into the flats.
Yeah, that's right. So you never know. Yeah,
I like that. Maybe offset, like off the tackle, just off his right ass cheek. Then he goes to the flats. Would love to see that. Run 2 tight ends, get him on the line, have Reggie Gilliam. Maybe you go trips on one side with tight ends. You have two, and you have Reggie Gilliam just off the right ass cheek, and we'll tap and go. That'd be kind of fun to watch. Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with Tim. I can't imagine them cutting him at this point. Especially with how the lines looked.
Fair enough.
Who was the running back, or who was the fullback that they had before?
Pat DeMarco.
I just remember in the Houston Texans playoff game, they tried to bomb a deep ball to him.
That was tough. That was tough to watch.
He did with Atlanta the year before, or a couple of
South Carolina
before.
guy too.
Yeah, but then they tried to do that against Houston, and that was a big L right there.
That was tough. Yeah, that was really tough to watch.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that of our fullbacks.
You know what, though? You know who used to play tight end and is essentially an H-back for this team? Reggie Gilliam. So he's got some receiving ability, as we saw in that Titans game, scoring the first touchdown. But if we want to continue talking Reggie Gilliam, we'll be on this show all day. So I think it's time to move on to receivers here. John Robert also saying, very good point. We've just talked about this too. Maybe Justin Shorter takes Jay Kumro's spot on special teams because he serves value as a gunner. So absolutely, I 100% agree with that. If it's me, I think you're 6 receivers. I'm going to say we probably keep 6 just because I know the Bills and probably what they will do. In my opinion, I think we keep 7, or I think we should keep 7. But the Bills are probably going to keep 6, and it's going to be exactly what we've been saying. So Steph Diggs, Gabe Davis, Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy, Justin Shorter, and probably Khalil Shakir. Being on that rookie contract, being in the system for only 1 year, they probably do want to give him another chance. I don't expect to see the Bills get rid of him. I feel like because they also activated him to the active roster last year too, and what he did towards the end of the year, that is going to weigh heavy in their minds. And unfortunately, I think our boy Andy Isabella is going to be a practice squatter. But Timmy, what do you got for me?
I feel like a rookie contract with 3 years left is almost more valuable in a trade. I don't think that's a bad thing to trade away. I know it's something that the Bills want to keep, for themselves contract-wise, but I think that's actually highly valuable in a trade as well. If the team has control for 3 years on a rookie contract of a 5th-round pick, he could be trade bait. I would actually kind of dangle him out there if I was Brandon Beane right now, just to see where, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where this rib injury came from. Kind of came out of nowhere. Didn't see him making plays last preseason game, so that's kind of interesting. Best abilities, availability.
Yeah.
I know for me, though, like I said, I'm going to keep 7 wide receivers. I have Khalil Shakir ranked as number 7. Andy Isabella is number 6.
Okay, I like that. You're not going to take one of those big guys like Tyrell Shavers or Keyshawn Johnson or Marcel Aitman. Keep them as your 7?
Those are going to be more practice. I have Tyrell Shavers and Aitman as practice squad, and I see Keyshawn Johnson possibly get. Actually, one of those 3 are probably going to get signed down to a team, but between the 2, I'll take Tyrell Shavers and Marcel Aitman just because I've seen more plays between the 2 of them.
I like that. Ian, 6 or 7? What do you think? I think those are the 2 magic numbers.
Yeah, I would love 7. I mean, I don't get the whole point. If you don't have a Tywan Jones on the team, then why keep 4 running backs?
Right.
So I think it makes sense to have 7. And obviously they're going to keep 100%. They're going to keep Gabe, Steph, Trent, and Deontay. And then it's a matter of the other 3 spots, which I think we've all talked about: Justin Shorter, Khalil Shakir, and then Andy Isabella. Yeah, I completely agree with that. They probably will keep Khalil and then have Andy be a practice squatter because it makes more sense, right? Even if they dumped Khalil at first to put him on the practice squad, odds are he'll get picked up on waivers. Andy, probably not. You know what I mean? However, I would say that if the return game starts to suffer because of that, I think you could see a swap there sooner rather than later, like in the middle of the regular season.
Could see that. Yeah, John Robert coming in saying that maybe he starts on IR depending on how bad his ribs are. Yeah, that's a good point too. You put him on IR or you put him on the PUP list, one of the 2.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't count as an active roster spot, and then you can kind of weigh where you're at in 4 or 6 weeks or whatever it is. So that's another good point too. Could see that happen.
This last game is going to determine those last 3 receiver spots probably almost completely. We'll really have a better sense after this game. I mean, if Khalil doesn't play at all, that's tough. I mean, especially if one of those other guys balls out. Khalil,
or that just means that he's going to be on the team.
It could, but
I
mean, do you really want to risk that? I mean, what if I don't know if you remember. I always remembered this like vividly in my head, the Victor Cruz game, because it was on Hard Knocks, where Victor Cruz had 3 touchdowns and like went absolutely nuts, and Rex Ryan was going crazy about him, and he made the team and became an all-star. Like, I think about those, and I know that it's against not the best of not the top talent that you're going to be considered, but I mean, I feel like it still shows a lot. I mean, you still have to go out there and play, so. I don't know, but my guess is they would, if they do keep 6, they're gonna keep Khalil over Andy, unfortunately. But again, like I said, if the return game suffers, I could see a swap there happening.
I could see that. Yeah, freaking love preseason, by the way, guys. I mean, this is what it's all about, right? You want to talk about grit and blood, sweat, and tears. This is essentially these guys' livelihoods. I keep saying essentially. I don't know why I keep saying that word, but this is their livelihoods. They are fighting for a chance to play football as a job. What a beautiful thing. I mean, honestly, you got guys out there grinding their nuts off, sweating their nuts off, just going out there, playing ball, doing it for the love of the game. And it's just beautiful. This is the game to watch. Everyone's going to probably turn this off at halftime because they've probably seen enough. I'm going to watch right till the very last second, and I'm going to rewatch it 3 more times because I love this stuff. The third preseason game gets me more fired up than quite a few things, So, yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one. I'm really curious to see what happens with those final receiver slots. I definitely think Justin Shorter's a lock, but yeah, I think it really does come down to Andy Isabella or Khalil Shakir for that final spot. And if we do keep 7, I think that's even better. But the Bills, I feel like with them, they're going to do what you don't want them to do. So what are you going to do? All right, so going to offensive line. Now, this is a position group that is a little banged up, and especially on the right side, we don't really know what's happening there. I mean, obviously, it looks like Spencer Brown is going to go in as the starting right tackle, but the Bills did go ahead and sign Garrett McGinn from the XFL, who has also played with the Bills a couple times in 2 different stints during the offseason, and not really sure if that's going to change at all. Of course, we still have Ryan Vandermark, who I think has actually had a pretty good preseason. Didn't play so hot last game, but I thought really held his own against the Colts. But Timmy, how do you think that's shaping out? Are we feeling any better about the tackle position on the right side?
No, not at all. Unless Spencer Brown is pulling something on all of us right now. Then maybe I'll be surprised. But I guess Eric Wood during the last preseason game, he mentioned how it's hard in preseason, especially when you're not game planning for a specific defense. So they're playing a 3-4 defense in Pittsburgh, and they usually go up against a 4-3 defense, which is their own team. So maybe he said that may be a reason why the offensive line looked so bad last week, just because they didn't game plan. Rather, there's just, they had their set of plays that they wanted their players to run through. Yeah. So that was kind of the focus. So we'll see in this next game if that's proven to be true, because they're going against because Chicago's a 4-3 defense, right?
I believe they're I think they are. I think they're a 3-4 right now.
I think they're a 4-3. I'm looking at it. At least on our lads, it's 4-3.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
So all right.
But I don't think Spencer Brown is going to be playing in this last preseason game, just because he's going to be a starter. So, no, I think the bright spot right now is Ryan Vandermark, just because he's an undrafted guy. And he's kind of shown that he's kind of picking up something. Like, he's kind of, this is something maybe they can mold into a backup tackle right now. So you never know. He's kind of the bright spot right now for me on the offensive line. Well, besides Osiris Torrance, that's the brightest star right now is Osiris Torrance. And he's locked up that right guard. Ryan Bates is going to be a great utility guy in the backup. And like a lot of people said, being that utility offensive lineman, that kind of hurts you to be a starter just because you're almost more valuable as a backup. Besides that, there really isn't much to talk about when it comes to, I think it's pretty much straightforward on the offensive line. Deion Dawkins, David Quessenberry, Connor McGovern, David Edwards. Actually, Connor Montgomery was on the injury report today with something, I believe, at practice. But Mitch Morris is going to be a center. Ryan Bates is going to be a backup at center. Osiris Torrance, Spencer Brown, and Ryan Vandermark is who I have making this roster. And then Richard Garage being your practice squad. I don't have Ike Bucker making the team this year.
Yeah, that's tough because I think Ike Bucker, obviously, that was a guy that is sort of hung around on this roster just because he has the experience, but injuries have just absolutely torn him apart. So that's a guy that I think certainly is a casualty from this. But Ian, what do you think?
I think there are going to be some moves that have yet to be made yet, because I just don't see them going into the season with this. If this is how they're going to look. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with what Tim is saying. I had mentioned it before the show, the fact that the Cardinals are weirdly like beefy when it comes to tackles. I mean, if you look, I was just looking at their tackles, so I was curious. And DJ Humphries and Paris Johnson is your two tackles, and their backups are Kelvin Beachum and Josh Jones.
Right.
And I've been seeing things about Josh Jones on the trade block, some things about Kelvin Beachum. Like, you grab one of those dudes to fill in, that sounds like a better idea to me than rolling with Spencer Brown the way he is right now. I'm not even a big fan of Deion Dawkins, to be honest with you. I feel like the Bills could take a really big note from Howie Roseman, since he's the king of drafting in the trenches guys. But, hey, I remember being on the show and talking about Osiris Torrance. I wanted Osiris Torrance, and I'm glad we got him because he does look really good. I'm super happy. We have something shored up. We got a couple positions shored up now. Mitch Morse, Osiris Torrance, those guys are shored up. Now we just got to get the outside guys.
I do think there's something to be said about your guard helping your tackle out and making him a better player. Obviously, we have not seen that in the preseason just yet with Osiris Torrance and Spencer Brown, but you got to remember, give Osiris some time too. He's only a rookie. He's trying to find his way, and I think he's done a hell of a job so far. So maybe during the regular season, they'll figure something out, and maybe in a way he'll help Spencer Brown out. But I would love to go ahead and trade for a guy like Josh Jones. I think that would be fantastic. He's a former third-round pick in 2020 for the Cardinals. He started some games in the NFL, but now the fact that they just drafted Paris Johnson, they still have DJ Humphries. I think it makes sense to maybe float out like a fifth rounder or something like that for him, or maybe you trade Boogie straight up.
Former fifth round wide receiver. Oh, sorry.
Or a fifth round wide receiver. Yeah, you could always do that too. So no, I'm all aboard on that. Kelvin Beachum, that's been another name floated around too, the other guy for the Cardinals there, but he is 34 years old. So do you want to just bring in another veteran right tackle, or do you want to take a chance on a young guy, another third round pick who was also drafted in 2020? Spencer Brown was 2021, but still, that could maybe come in and, give him a run for his money or eventually take over that spot. I think Josh Jones would be a fabulous choice.
Yeah, my worry with Kelvin is the fact that they tried that with Ryder Saffold and didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
And, not saying that Kelvin Beachum is Roger Saffold, but I would probably rather give it to Josh Jones. Or, hey, first bring Jason Peters back, please. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, apparently he had a workout and an interview with the Bills, but nothing ever came of it. So I'm
like,
curious to see.
Right. You're 41. Never mind.
It's crazy. You know who I was looking at the other day? Actually, Ian, was Jackie Slater. You want to talk about an absolute legend? This guy played, I think, 22 seasons from 76 it was to 1995, all with the same team. Yeah, really. All with the Rams his entire career. Jackie Slater, Hall of Fame tackle, also dad of Matthew Slater, another gritty guy. Maybe a Hall of Fame special teamer and Matthew Slater. But Jackie Slater played left tackle his entire career, played until the age of 41 at left tackle. I don't know I don't think he missed many games either, which makes it even more impressive. And then Bruce Matthews, another guy. The Matthews family just loaded with legends, but Bruce Matthews literally played every single position on the offensive line. He finished his career as a center. He went from the outside in, which is absolutely wild, but he was even an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. I think he was an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler at every single position as well, except for maybe right tackle, which is just insane. So look to those guys. I mean, look what they did in their 40s, and obviously the game's changed a little bit, but still very impressive. And Jason Peters still around kicking it. Freaking love to see it, man. But all right, well, hey, I like our thoughts on that. Still not super satisfied, of course, but I think, maybe making a trade there is not the worst thing in the world. Very encouraged by Ryan Vandermark's development. I still have a lot of faith in Richard Garage as well to be a suitor to take over at that position too. So, but if not, I am here for the Josh Jones trade. I think that'd be me. That would make a lot of sense. So, moving on to the defensive line. Now, last game was, I guess, a bit of a step in the wrong direction, a step backwards, if you will. Leonard Floyd did not look super great against the run. We got kind of carved up, especially in those first 2 drives by the Steelers with a 62-yard run by Jaylen Warren. Absolutely shredded us. Timmy, are you concerned here? Do you think it kind of changes a little bit with who we keep, or do we make a trade there? Do we try to acquire someone else? What are we doing?
Well, I think all the guys that you are going to have on your defensive line are on the team right now. I don't see them bringing anyone in from the outside. I think everyone that they have right now is going to be who they're going to keep. So I think like we were talking before the show and even last show too, Leonard Floyd, he's not known for, setting the edge and defending the run. He's more, I'm going to go get the quarterback type of guy, getting that pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that the Bills knew that going into this. I know he's a friend of Von Miller, but I'm assuming they did their due diligence and know that we just need someone to get the quarterback. And that's kind of what they needed after Von Miller got injured, because after that, Greg Rousseau kind of became a ghost after Von Miller was, out. He wasn't really getting as many sacks or many quarterback pressures as it was before, because it seems like a lot of teams were keen in on him after that. But like I said, Von Miller, I don't know how many games he'd be out. Personally, I don't have him going on the PUP list for the regular season. I think that 6 games is too long. They're going to need him before that. So for me, trying to figure out this roster, the defensive line and linebackers have been pretty tough. I'm kind of swaying between. I think Boogie Basham and AJ Epinesa are the two where it's just like I could see one of those two actually possibly being traded, I don't think cut. I think trade is most likely. I know AJ Epinesa had he had 6 sacks last season, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's
6.5, I think.
Yeah, so he's kind of like trending upwards when it comes to, getting after the quarterback. Haven't heard his name much in this preseason. Same with Boogie Basham. He's kind of trending up right now. I'm not the biggest Boogie Basham fan, and it's more based off of the draft that year, going 2 defensive ends in a row. So one of those two, out of the defensive line, I can see one of those two not being on this roster via cut or trade. Most likely trade, I think, because I think both of those guys have value right now. And that's pretty much where I have my defensive ends.
Fair enough. Ian, any changes to that?
I feel like our cup runneth over with average defensive linemen. That has kind of been the Bills' staple for the last several years. Just very average guys who aren't horrible, not guys that you'd want to cut, but definitely guys that aren't going to be that big of a difference maker. And I think Tim is absolutely right where, Greg Rousseau just became a complete ghost when Von Miller got hurt. So you have to kind of, unfortunately, rely on him staying healthy. And if he goes on the PUP list or whatever, that's going to make life difficult. But because we have all of these kind of average dudes, I think a trade is very much possible. A Boogie Basham swap for a tackle or something like that makes sense. And I like what John Roberts said about Tim Settle, because I think Tim Settle has looked really good.
He has. I've been very impressed with him.
Yeah, for sure.
He's had a great preseason.
Again, I think it makes the most sense. Yeah, I think it makes the most sense to try to trade one of those guys and just do an D-line, O-line flip there, for sure.
I like that. Super happy that we have Poona Ford, by the way. Absolutely in love with that guy. I think he is going to be a huge difference maker for us. Obviously, taking a pay cut coming here to Buffalo. He wants to win a ring, which I hope he gets, man, because, gosh, could have went elsewhere. But I think, I feel pretty good about that. We didn't talk a whole lot about Shaq Lawson, though, Timmy. I know you had him as a guy that was going to get cut from this team.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that totally. But
my whole issue with trying to figure out this roster right now is what's going on at middle linebacker, because they have 4 guys. 2 of them are injured. The 2 of them look absolutely terrible. So trying to fit, I think they're going to be going into the season with 4 middle linebackers. Maybe Balin Spector makes the practice squad. So it's just trying to fit him in right now. And Shaq Lawson, he's good at stopping the run. Like Ian said, though, I think our defensive line in general is just kind of average without Von Miller.
Yeah.
Really didn't get much pressure on the quarterbacks after Von Miller left. Even like Ed Oliver, who just got paid, really, he didn't do anything. He hasn't really shown anything. I'm not a big Ed Oliver fan. Let me hand up. When he got his contract, I was very mad. Just because when it comes to you look at his draft class compared to what he's done, he hasn't done anything, man. Like Dexter Lawrence, Quinnen Williams, Christian Wilkins, like those 3 guys are just complete animals on the defensive line. Ed Oliver hasn't. Jeffrey Simmons too.
Yeah.
Those guys have been difference makers. Ed Oliver hasn't been that at all. Like Christian Wilkins, it was just him at one point on the defensive line, and he was still dominating. If he's not dominating, he's still getting in Josh Allen's face, talking trash and getting him upset. He's doing something to kind of get people rattled. So it's the problem with this defensive line. I don't know if it was Leslie Frazier and maybe Sean McDermott's going to be a little bit more creative. But overall, it's very average. They're not bad and they're not great. They're kind of middle of the road. And once Von Miller shows up, maybe that's going to be that story is going to change. But right now, starting the season off, you can kind of plug and place everybody. They're kind of, I don't know. I don't have any emotional attachment to anybody on this defensive line, to be totally honest with you.
That's fair. I just look at where we are in terms of the run game, and Shaq Lawson is kind of a staple for being able to stop the run. So I feel like in terms of the value that he offers, he's just too good at that for us to get rid of him. So that's why I think he does make this team. But in other news, Shane Ray goes on IR. That's unfortunate because he was in the middle of, making a nice little comeback. A guy that really hasn't been mentioned a ton, but seems to get his nose around the football and make plays is Kingsley Jonathan. Do you think he's a practice squatter again, or do you think he actually does make the 53-man roster?
It's a numbers game at this point.
I know.
I think you can't keep this many guys on the defensive line. That's insane. I don't even think he's going to be making the practice squad. He got picked up by the Giants last year. So
that's the risk, right? So if you actually try to assign him to the practice squad, I don't know if he clears waivers. I think he's that good of a player. Yeah.
So I don't know Jake, who are you looking at to possibly making this defensive line, to be honest with you?
I think I think Von will probably start. I have a feeling that the Bills are going to hold him out longer than he needs to be, just because that's how they are. They're very precautious with what they do. But Von Miller is also a freak of nature.
He was actually ramping up activity today.
I know, it's insane. And then obviously last year we had Trey White, who was recovering from an ACL injury. I think corner's a lot different than defensive end, so in terms of how much he's going to cut and really put a ton of pressure on that knee, obviously there's going to be some force applied and whatnot, but I think there's a higher chance that he comes back sooner than Trey White. But is it week 6? Is it week 3? Is it week 2? I mean, I can't see him being available
too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think
Trey was talking retirement even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, Von Miller, he's already been through an ACL injury. He's been saying since the offseason he'd be back and ready for week 1. Obviously, he's not going to be ready for week 1, but I think he's going to come back a little bit earlier. I think they're going to need him earlier. Their first couple of weeks, I know I've been ragging on the Jets, but, they got some tough teams at the beginning.
Take advantage of that O-line, though, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Talk about the Jets' offensive line. They have some serious struggles going on there, too. So you imagine having Von Miller available for that? Holy smokes. Yeah. All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, Greg Rousseau, Leonard Floyd, Boogie Basham, Cameron Klein's another name. So he actually really showed out last game, and I felt like, he stayed the case, but probably be a practice squatter realistically. Yes, this is tough. Kind of looking at this roster right now, it really is. It is a numbers game, Timmy. But I do think Shaq makes it, and I do think Boogie Basham gets traded.
I think that makes sense. I was actually looking, Tim, at the other defensive lines players at Oliver's class, and I've never been a big fan of Ed Oliver either, and I don't know why. And I feel like now I know why, because like I'm looking at those other guys, and I was like, Ed Oliver was taken before all of them, and he's nowhere near as good as some of those other guys like Quinnen Williams and Dexter Lawrence. And it's not that I don't love Ed Oliver. He's just average. He's just very average. So how many D linemen are we thinking we're keeping here? 8?
I would say that's tough.
It's like you got Greg, you have Ed, Vaughn, Tim.
I think 9. I think 9.
Got 5 and 5. So
5 and 5. Okay.
5 and 5.
Who are your 5 D tackles?
So you got Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, Jordan Phillips, Ed Oliver, and Puna Ford.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, so 5, yeah, 5 and 5. I think that's right. So it's
that makes
10.
sense to me. And then I would if Leonard Floyd's not playing well, I just get rid of Leonard Floyd, and then have Boogie.
Oh,
Greg.
I don't know.
I mean, if he's not playing well, I mean either that or like if they do trade Boogie Basham, then yeah, they're gonna have to keep Leonard Floyd. But if you don't trade Boogie, then is he better than Boogie right now?
I think so. He's a really good I mean, he's played his best football the last 3 seasons. He had 9.5 sacks last year, 9 the year before.
I'm not saying that, but if he's going to be a change of pace guy who's not going to start ahead of Vaughn or Greg, and
you think he's like Mario Addison 2.0?
I mean,
because that's how Mario Addison was too coming to the Bills. He was like coming off some really nice seasons with Carolina, and that's how I felt. When he was coming to the Bills, I felt like, man, this is going to be a difference maker. But he didn't do a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a similar case, but I don't know. Time will tell.
I don't know. How long did we sign Leonard for? Was it like a big deal or is it just 1 year?
I think it was only a one-year deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I don't know. If you're not going to trade Boogie, if you're not going to make a move there, then I think you have to get rid of somebody like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it would make sense. I mean, I think there's other guys you can get rid of before him. I hope they don't get rid of Leonard Floyd. But, yeah, I think it's 5 and 5. At the end of the day, I think 5 and 5. I'm with you, Timmy. But I am having the Bills keep Shaq Lawson and trade Boogie. That's my only difference.
Okay, so yeah, if they traded Boogie, you'd keep Shaq.
That's right. Yep. Just because of his run-stopping ability. And let's just hope and pray that Kingsley Jonathan makes it to the practice squad. Looking at linebackers, though, this is really the big one here, right? Middle linebacker position is very up for grabs right now. I don't even know who the week 1 starter is going to be. I mean, our lads right now has Terrell Bernard listed, but he has a hamstring injury still to this day. I don't know. I am so unconfident with what's going to happen there. I feel like Dorian Williams should be the guy, but we know the Bills are not giving him that opportunity right now. Ian, do you think what do we do here? We just signed Deshaun White.
It's probably going to be AJ Klein for the first.
You think so? The Wiley.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, at least he has familiarity with the defense, and it's something. It probably has to be, right? Like, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Them, if they're really not sold on Dorian Williams taking over that spot, and Tyrell still.
No one brought the juice last week at all.
No, and Tyrell Dawson's didn't play very well. Balen Spector's been he's a 7th round pick. He's been playing very average. So, like, yeah, put AJ Klein in there for a week until Terrell Bernard gets back, and if he doesn't play the way that you want, then I think you kind of have to force Dorian Williams into that role. Like, I don't think you have a choice. You know what I mean? So.
I agree. Timmy?
I mean, talking about the linebackers just makes me sick.
I know. I feel like we've been talking about this till we're blue in the face.
I think, you obviously have Matt Milano, so that's a lock. Dorian Williams is going to be a lock. Like, I think we all agree. I think Dorian Williams should be the middle linebacker of this team just because he's actually, reactive and he's making plays. Mm-hmm. Tyrell Dawson hasn't made any plays. Terrell Bernard, like I said, best ability is availability. I think he was injured almost all of last season too. Like, he's injured now. He's a 3rd round pick. They invested in him, so he's going to be making this team, I think. Balen Spector is going to be a practice squad guy. AJ Klein, like, it was just a track meet out there for him. Like he looked like he was just gassed. You put a wide receiver, a tight end against him, and he's looking old. He's only 2 years older than me, and he's looking old. So I can't complain too much. And then you got Tyler Matakevich in here, who's just a special teams guy. You're just sitting there. I'm like, I mean, this guy's still making the roster too, right? Because he's going to be playing special teams. But I don't know. This whole special team stuff really messes me up as well. So I don't know. I don't even like talking about the linebackers. The linebackers make me sick.
Let's just move
on.
I
said, at least we got Matt Milano. He's good. Besides that, I don't know. I don't care about the rest of them. I honestly don't. Dorian Williams, I want to see a middle linebacker.
Yeah. What is the reason that Dorian is not? They don't want him there. What's the reason behind that, Jake?
I don't know.
Well, you've been saying that, so I'm wondering.
Bean said that in Tulane that they played a very, very simple defense, and then coming and transitioning into an NFL defense could be tough for him because it's more complex, which I don't understand. I think when you play either linebacker, Will or Mike, you have to understand what the other one is doing. And even in, I believe it was Joe Biscaglia was talking about it. In the Bills defense, even last year, there really isn't set. There was nothing really set for either one of those positions. It kind of, once, the ball is snapped, they just kind of read and react. So I don't see what the big deal is. Just throw him in there. Let him sink and swim. He's the only guy that's proven to actually do anything on the defense right now. Like I said, I'm not going to say anything about Terrell Bernard because he hasn't been playing, but still, it's like he hasn't shown anything. He's a tiny guy too. So I don't know. I think if it was me, Dorian Williams would be our Mike linebacker. Matt Milano will be our Will. And the rest, and that would make cutting people easier after that. Honestly, I don't think Tyrell Dodson would be on any. AJ Klein wouldn't even be on a NFL defense right now, and then Tyrell Dodson wouldn't be on an NFL defense either. Both those guys are just terrible.
Yikes!
Dude, a lot of our linebackers are pretty small. I mean, give or take, they're all in the 6 foot range, 220, 230.
Yeah.
We don't have a big, except for AJ Klein, but
that's really the league now. A lot of the league has adopted this nickel defense, and a lot of them run that cover 2 shell, and that's the name of the game this day and age, unfortunately. I was kind of expecting Taylor Rapp to play almost like a rover position where he could play linebacker, be like Mark Barron almost, play a little bit of linebacker, be like a rover safety linebacker.
Like
Coy Wire, another great name. Who was another one?
Byron Scott.
Byron Scott, not her mayor. Brian Scott.
Brian Scott.
Byron Brown.
You mean Byron Brown.
Wow. Boys, I'm not even
for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute.
Byron Brown. Brian Scott. Yeah, great name. Yeah, I mean, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up for me right now with who's going to make the team. Is Deshaun White just a guy that's going to be a practice squatter? Probably. They also have him listed as a weak side linebacker right now. They don't even have him listed as a middle linebacker, so great signing there. I think we move on to corners here. This is a very interesting one. Obviously, Trey White is going to be a lock at the number 1 corner position, but who's going to be our other corner? Is it going to be Kyer Elam? Is it going to be Christian Benford or Dane Jackson? It's between those 3.
Yeah, I think it's not Kyer.
You don't think so? Yeah, we talked about having a rotation there almost, where depending on the team that you're playing, it could differ on that. If you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, do you want to press him? Do you want to play zone? Do you want to do a kind of like a bracket like they did to Steph Diggs, the Jets? I think it really depends on the team that you're playing. The front runner this entire preseason, I think, has actually been Christian Benford, to be honest with you, with who I've seen on the field and who I've seen play. Dane Jackson played fantastic against the Colts, but I think between the 2 weeks, the best one has definitely been Christian Benford, in my opinion. But Timmy, what do you think?
Yeah, I would like to see Kyer Elam starting, to be honest with you. Yeah. He's a first-round pick. He's a guy that you traded up for. He has the higher ceiling out of the other 2. But it's trending right now that he's going to be your 4th cornerback right now. He's not.
Isn't that crazy? 1st-round pick.
I mean, the crazy thing too is how many games did he start last season? And he was totally fine. Like, he didn't get burned that bad. And
Yep.
how many interceptions did he have?
I think he played well.
Yeah. So, just throw him out there. Let him sink or swim. And then if he sinks, then you have those other guys to fill him in. But, you have two great safeties back there to help him out as well. So the crazy thing is, I wasn't the drafting of Kyrie Elam. Once again, is a common theme. I wasn't a fan of it just because the Bills are known to develop corners. They played with Levi Wallace for how many seasons? And he was an undrafted guy out of Alabama. So, and then they had Dane Jackson, who was a 7th-round pick. And then they pick up Christian Benford, who's he's a 6th-round pick?
Yeah, 6th-rounder, yep.
6.
So you're known to develop low drafted cornerbacks. Why did you have to draft a guy in the 1st round?
Yeah.
You already had your Davius White.
Right.
So there's a lot of things when it comes to the Bills drafting I really don't agree with. I think the Sean McDermott's draft has maybe been the best Bills draft of all time. But after that, obviously you have Josh Allen. That's a great draft too. But after that, it's just kind of been their drafts have been confusing. Like I said, to go back to Ed Oliver, you had a couple other guys you could have drafted besides him. Greg Rousseau, kind of the same exact thing. Like, he was
doubling up on positions too. That's a very common thing that the Bills seem to do. Not sure why. I mean, you can never have enough depth, but I mean, jeepers, taking guys in back-to-back rounds, 1st and 2nd round, Greg Rousseau, Boogie Basham, that was a little puzzling for sure.
Yeah.
But
and then I think the other thing too with
running backs.
The thing with Kyrie Elam is, if you're drafting him in the 1st round and you're not even having starting, you're hurting his confidence. And when is he going to develop? The whole point is developing a guy, and you're not going to develop this guy by sitting him on the bench. So what's going on here? If you're not going to start him, look to trade him, to be honest with you.
While he still has some value. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think right now, I don't know. Dane Jackson's been the starter for both preseason games. Christian Benford has been showing up too. I think either one of those, whatever, is fine. You have Tre'Davious White on the one side. The other two, I think they're just interchangeable. Obviously, I like to see Kyrie Elam starting just because he has that higher ceiling. He's more of an X factor potential than the other two. So that's my feelings.
For that nickel corner spot, we have Taron Johnson, and then they actually have Cam Lewis listed as his backup.
I saw that.
So that's very interesting as well. Saran Neal has been taking an awful lot of snaps. Do you think Saran Neal makes this team, or is he going to be a casualty?
I mean, they're playing him so much, it's hard to see him as a casualty. But, Cam Lewis has stepped up. They're both hybrids, though, right? They both play safety and they both play cornerback. So, there's that value right there. So, obviously, Taron Johnson's going to be your starter. I think they're going to keep both of them, to be totally honest with you.
So, you think we keep 7 corners then?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No, it's not bad. I mean, shoot, that is probably.
So
what's that, Ian?
We'll have less linebackers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, we play a nickel defense too. So you got to remember, I think having defensive backs more available is probably a better thing anyways. And it's probably going to be like we're only playing with one linebacker, according to you guys. And according to most of, people that evaluate the Bills at the moment anyway. So it basically is going to feel like we only have Matt Milano out there. So you might as well just keep an extra corner or two, huh?
Yeah.
Safety is an interesting position group too. I think obviously we got Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde and then Taylor Rapp. Then it comes down to Dean Marlowe, Jared Maiden, Zane Anderson, and DeMar Hamlin. And in my opinion, there's no way the Bills are cutting DeMar Hamlin. It's just not going to happen.
Can't do it.
So do you keep 4? Do you keep 5? What do you do there? Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to keep DeMar. I would say unless they're worried about special teams with Dean Marlowe, you can cut him. But if they get down to the last few spots and they're worried they're going to be a little thin at special teams, then maybe keep Dean. But that's about it. That's all I can really see, to be honest with you.
Sean actually commented on here. Did you guys see that? It just popped up on our chat here. Looks like you sent these early on. He said you could have avoided all this by drafting a tackle. You're absolutely right, Sean. We had a chance to take DeJuan Jones, going back to our tackle situation. Yeah, and we just did not do that, which is awful. I was not ignoring. I swear it literally just popped up on the chat here. So I don't know if maybe it just sent on your end or if I'm just seeing it.
32 to 42.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Did not see that. But no, you're absolutely correct on that. It's puzzling, man. Again, going back to the Bills draft strategy at times, it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. But you got to trust in Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, man. So hopefully they know what they're doing. I think they do. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But when it comes down to this 53-man roster, there's going to be a few position groups, man, that I am really paying attention to. So going to be fun to watch this game on Saturday. I think special teams, it's pretty much a lock. Sam Martin, Tyler Bass, Reed Ferguson. And then our return man right now we have listed as Deontay Hardy, but there is a chance, of course, that Andy Isabella does make this team as a returner. He's been basically taking all the returns in the preseason here, so that would be pretty cool to watch.
I have a question.
What you got, Timmy?
So let's just say Sean McDermott, we have another first-round playoff ousting, and maybe the year after that, same exact thing. Do you think Brandon Beane could ever fire Sean McDermott with how close the relationship is?
I think they're a package deal.
Gone?
I feel like they're a package deal. Like if one goes, the other goes. So I feel like that's absolutely what it comes down to. They ride together, they die together.
I think the offense would have to get really bad for them to want to make that move so they can hire an offensive coach. But no, I can't imagine Brandon just doing that.
No way in hell.
A little bit if that would ever. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's no way they would have to both be gone.
Right.
All right, that's all. I just asked.
It's a great question, though, Timmy.
Thing, yeah.
And this year, I mean, if the Bills don't do it this year, are they both gone next year, or you give them another year after that?
They just signed a contract extension, didn't they?
I know it. Andy Reid got fired though after he went to like 3 straight NFC championships. Think about that.
That was a longer period of time, though. I mean, it was 1999 to 2011, I think, or 2012.
That's a good point. Yep.
So, that's 13 years of never winning. That's
You got to remember too. I think how fast people forget how bad the Bills were. I know you can't keep saying this, but my gosh, isn't it crazy that now the expectation is a Super Bowl every single year? Like before, we would just laugh at that thought. Now it's like a legitimate thought, which is kind of cool.
I remember when Chan Gailey said we're going to go. His goal is to go undefeated and win the Super Bowl that season. Everyone laughed. I said, "Hey, that should be your mentality."
That's right.
That it should.
We all know about the drought years. I was going to do some Sporkle here, but we're running up on an hour and a half, and I know Timmy's got to get to bed here soon because he's an old man.
That's right.
But yeah, I think we really beat the 53-man to death. I mean, it's going to come down to a few things, honestly. I think this third preseason game, of course, with how these backups play, and the most intriguing position groups really are the receiver position, the cornerback position, and probably middle linebacker, and then right tackle. I feel like it's going to be a lock. We sort of already know who's going to be starting there, but I think those three that I just mentioned are certainly the most intriguing to me. But boys, what are you guys thinking? How you feeling? You think the Bills are going to live up to the hype this year, or are you going to be let down again?
I think, I do believe that there is a lot of weight and validity to the fact that they're not game planning for these teams. Yeah. So I really still have high hopes for this team. I know it sounds like I'm down on the team a lot, but a lot of the problems that we're talking about our 6th or 7th wide receiver. We're talking about our second cornerback, which we have 3 guys that can start on the defense. I think really the biggest thing is, our right tackle and our middle linebacker are the biggest issues right now. And, I think fingers crossed, hopefully they can offensive game plan to the fact that maybe they take a lot of pressure off of Spencer Brown. And like you said, the guard tackle relationship, they help each other out. And I think if you can have that, steady, Torrance and Brown together, maybe they can develop and be a little bit better. Just like, Deion Dawkins and Connor McGovern, Deion Dawkins was probably making up a lot for Roger Saffold last year. So There's still a little bit of hope for the offensive line when it comes to that. So no, but in reality, I think this is still I think this year's roster is still better than last year's roster, even though the middle linebacker situation is just kind of like a hole right now.
It's gotten worse and worse every week, I feel like.
Yeah.
Pretty tough. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be fine. I'm not going to say they're going 17-0, but I'm not going to say they're going to miss the playoffs. They're going to win the division, and we'll see where we go from there. Honestly, that's all I really care about at this point. I'm not going to over-exaggerate to every little thing, and I'm just going to wait for them quietly and patiently to make the playoffs, and then I'll probably start to worry over every little thing. But
I feel like Ian is very good with it. You are like the least, I guess, the least worrisome in terms of like where the Bills are at. You never overreact. You don't get too high. You don't get too low. And you really put things into perspective for me at times because I am very emotional with it. I don't think I never write the Bills off. I'm not like, oh, well, there goes the season. I never am that guy, but I do get fired up, man. So I like your approach. I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going with what you're saying, but I just had to say that.
Well, one of the reasons why, probably all three of us find football, professional football, to be one of the most exciting sports is that it is really the only sport where, every single game is so important and anybody could win every single game. Yeah. It's not just the better team's going to win every time because being prepared and injuries and even things like the weather affect the game so much. And I think that's what makes it so interesting. So there's so many variables involved that usually the cream will rise to the top and the rest will falter. And this is a good team. I mean, they're many years in a row playoff bound. So I can't imagine them all of a sudden having the floor drop from underneath them. So they'll make the playoffs. Things will be fine. There will be a horrible loss where people will panic and say this team's horrible, sell this, sell that. And then they'll have an amazing win where everybody will freak out and say that Josh should be winning MVP. Why is he not already given the trophy right now? But I really only care about when they make the playoffs and how they are going to come off of that horrendous game against the Bengals and how they're going to respond to that once they're in the playoffs, because that's really the test at this point. Can you definitively go deep into the playoffs?
People were saying after that Steelers game, they felt like it was just a continuation of that Bengals game. Do you think there's any validity to that?
No, because the starters didn't play in that entire game.
Did it give you a bad taste in your mouth at all? Because, I mean, it was only a quarter and a half. Not even really. It was like a quarter and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Did it leave a sour taste in your mouth? Because now they're not touching the field until week 1.
People get so caught up in preseason when I don't think they realize that, they give the offense like 10 basic plays to run and are just like run these basic plays. Like everybody knows what they're doing. Really
very vanilla.
Preseason is a test of athletic ability, not, game planning. So I would put literally no weight into how well an offense. I would very strictly look at individual performance when you're watching preseason. Whoa, that dude made a crazy good catch. Oh my God, that guy did this. Oh my God, that guy did that. I mean, we saw how many, Jake, I think you remember it was very early on where we had that like 3rd and 34. But like all those plays leading up to that 3rd and 34 were really good.
Oh, that drive was beautiful.
It was a beautiful drive, right? So like look at those things first in preseason and not about like how they're going to game plan in the preseason, because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And hey, how fast people forget. What was it? Did the Bears smoke the Chiefs or something last year in the preseason? And then week 1 of last year, the Bears beat the Niners. All that went down too. I mean,
that was a crazy game in the rain. That was the like crazy rain game where Trey Lance got hurt and all that. Justin Fields won the game throwing under 100 yards passing or something.
Yeah.
You look at this year, the Commanders beat the Ravens and they broke their preseason undefeated streak.
24 games it was? Crazy.
And the Commanders don't even have a real starting quarterback. So
hey, Sam Howell looked pretty good though. I don't know. I'm kind of sold on him.
But these guys, I mean, this is to go back on it. You think about the Steelers. Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers have a lot more to prove that the Bills have to do in the preseason.
Yeah.
Right. The Bills don't have to try to sell tickets before the season. their tickets are already sold. Steelers got to prove a little bit more. They looked like hot garbage last year. I'm still a little bit questionable on Kenny Pickett. That's great. You're playing good in the preseason. But, dude, once the real season comes up, you're playing the AFC North. You're probably playing in might be the toughest division in the NFL.
Yeah.
You got to show a little bit more. That's great.
You don't think the AFC East is the toughest division?
Good for you. Well, not with the Patriots.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the quarterbacks in the AFC North, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, I think Kenny Pickett's a little bit better than Mac Jones. So we'll see. Like I said, I think right now you're playing the toughest division in the AFC North. You got a lot more to prove in the preseasons than the Bills do. The Bills already shown the past, 4 years what they are as a team. Steelers have to show themselves. And that's pretty much how I see that last game as that.
I think I would almost put the
Fair
AFC
enough.
West over the AFC East.
I would
the way
too,
the Broncos
maybe.
played last year.
I know with how the Broncos played last year, but I mean, everybody thinks the Jets are Super Bowl contenders because they got Aaron Rodgers, who wasn't good that last year. And then the Dolphins have been the most overhyped team in all of football for the last 3 years. And I just don't have any faith in that team at all. I just don't. I don't know why. I just don't. I don't think that anything's happening.
That's
there.
why.
Yeah. I mean,
listen, Tua got a little feisty today. I don't know if you saw that with Ryan Clark. I guess Ryan Clark had come out and said something along the lines of just criticizing Tua again. And Tua said, keep my name out of your mouth, basically, which is great.
There's something
Love
about
to
him.
see that fire
He's not looking because Tua bulked up this past offseason.
Yeah.
And Ryan Clark basically said, you only bulked up sitting on the couch eating food and then not really muscle.
Dirty bulking.
And then he's also
chirping
about his tattoos too. So he said something about his tattoos that he's getting, his tribal tattoos, and then the type of weight he put on. Or the two.
That's an L take. About. I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah.
You know what isn't an L take? We got college football on this weekend, Timmy. How about that?
Right. I'm excited.
How about it? Got to
the
talk
games
a little
I'm
bit
not
about
really
that.
too excited about it though.
I mean, we got Notre Dame and Navy playing in Dublin, Ireland. Shout out to Irish Bills Mafia, by the way. Trevor doing a fantastic job over there. He was on our show a couple weeks ago, and we had the pleasure of talking to him. So Trevor's actually based in Ireland. That is like his hometown, and he discovered the Bills because they're very similar to his European football team. I forget the name of them, and I said I was going to start following them, and I just have failed to do so. I apologize, Trev. I hope you can forgive me on this. Nonetheless, they're playing in Dublin, Ireland. It's going to be kind of cool to watch. I think it's going to be an absolute, just stomp by Notre Dame over Navy. I love Navy, but there's not a chance in hell they're winning that game. What else do we got? We got USC playing San Jose State.
To be looking at right now, yeah. Just because of Caleb Williams, see if he's going to be the first overall pick this upcoming draft. So, he's the favorite right now.
How about Ohio at San Diego State, though? I think we got to talk a little bit more about that because of this kid, Curtis Rourke, who is Nathan Rourke's brother. Nathan Rourke, the famous quarterback for the Jags in week 1 of the preseason, who threw that insane pass. I don't know if you guys caught that, but if Pat Mahomes did that, it would be all over the freaking internet, and it did not get enough recognition. So if you have a chance, Google that Jaguars Cowboys throw by Nathan Rourke. It was absolutely incredible. His brother, I think it's his brother, Curtis Rourke, playing quarterback right now. Ohio Bobcats, put them on the national recognition list because let me tell you, they're going to make some noise this year. A MAC team that might hop into one of those Power 6 or New Year's 6 bowl games. I'm going to say it right now.
All right. Calling your shot right now.
Keep it on high alert. Keep it on high alert. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'll take a look out at that game too. But besides that,
that's about it.
Like I said, yeah, I mean, I can actually see an upset. I could see Navy beating Notre Dame. Notre Dame wasn't looking too hot last year, so I don't know. I'm not a Notre Dame fan either, so I know a lot of Buffalo people love Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish, but hey, go Navy. Sam
Howell just got an NIL deal with something, I forget, and he shared it with Beats by Dre. I think he gave every member on his team Beats by Dre headphones. So that's kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah, I did see that. Okay. That just came out today. But yeah, week 0. Hey, football is so officially back, guys. I am beyond fired up.
I mean, I looked at week 1. week 1 for college football. If you want to see games on games on games, like seeing that many college football games in one day, I mean, that's heaven. I mean,
it is.
There's nothing better than that. It's football all day. Don't get off your couch.
Never.
Fall's coming. Just, make sure you break in your couch so you have that cushion, like this.
Oh, yeah.
And then, have some snacks nearby. Nothing too technical, so you're away from the games too much. Just relax, watch some college football. Start appreciating it because, you know what? We got to see, Georgia's coming back. Are they going to be as good as they were, even though they still have the number 1 tight end, the number 1 wide receiver in the nation still? So it's going to be a very interesting season. Is Tennessee going to continue on being what they were last year?
How about Texas? You think they're the real deal? Did they live up to the hype this year?
I mean, you got Quentin Ewers who's coming back as your starter right now, so who knows? Are we going to see a little Arch Manning?
Yeah.
You never know. I think so. I think he could come in. So there's a lot of storylines in college football you have to take a look at too. So, yeah, start appreciating that too as well as Bills fans because, you know what? As soon as football comes, it leaves in a blink too.
Oh, it does. Don't even start talking about it. Don't even go there because it makes me sad even thinking about it. I'm just so happy that we're in this moment right now. Sure, we're at preseason game 3. Do not overlook the importance of this game. I'm very excited to see the position battles and how they turn out here. Cut day, as John Roberts says it here, Tuesday, August 29th at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is when all the cuts need to be done. And that's when we're going to find out who the 53-man roster is. And, boy, what a great freaking time of the year. We got fantasy drafts going on. We got ours tomorrow night, Ian. I'm super pumped for that. Don't miss the fantasy football show tomorrow with Chris and Jeremy. They're going to be evaluating some of the picks that we make. Yours truly will be involved in that. That's going to be kind of neat. I will not be live. I'll be making the picks live. I'll be in our other draft while I'm doing that. So really excited for that. Don't want to miss out on that. Again, we appreciate everyone that has stayed through the show, everyone that has been watching and commenting. Honestly, your support means the world to us. We're 20 subscribers away from 1,500. Help get us there before the start of the season. We're looking forward to doing some more giveaways as well. So we want to reward you guys who are out there watching and supporting. But Ian, any closing thoughts? Thanks for joining us. We need to see more of you on this. And you as well, Timmy. Obviously, you're starting to become a regular, which we love. But need everyone on this little panel here to be regulars.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a blast. Like you were saying, not everybody fully enjoys the preseason sometimes, but it really is one of the coolest experiences because you are watching people fighting for their jobs, for having, what a lot of people would arguably say one of the best and coolest jobs in the world, which is playing a professional sport.
It is.
So,
yeah.
Really stay tuned and watch because, sometimes you'll see some of the hardest tackles in preseason, some of the hardest hits, some of the coolest plays can happen in the final preseason game. So I'm excited to watch. And I'm really hoping to see somebody just go absolutely nuts with statistically for this last game.
Who's the next Victor Cruz? That's the real question. But
absolutely.
Anyways, we appreciate the hell out of all you that are watching, and we're going to leave you with a little clip here of our boy, Josh Allen, as well as many others, doing their thing, because guess what? It's coming real fast. So thank you as always. Go Bills.
Bills Mafia, circling the wagon, you feel me? Nickel City Mafia, let's go!
Josh Allen, quarterback supreme, leading the Bills to the top of the league. Weapons by his side, and that defense hella mean. Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. I said Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. Yeah. Come on. J17 leading the charge. Buffalo Bills on the rise. Passing game on point. Ain't no mirage. Happening right in your eyes. Ain't no surprise. Buffalo stacking the QB. Stephon Diggs holding in the pass. Group cars didn't have to go deep. We're circling wagons. Just wait and see. From Wyoming to the NFL, Josh Allen's got the skills. Air raid, deep ball, touchdowns for real. Leading the Bills to playoff drills. Real time, this ain't no drill. Cold game, we're giving them chills. Check the score, now you know the deal.
Nickel City Mafia.